Welcome to the channel. I'm Tony the Technician. Today we're going to be going to the Harbor Freight website. I'm going to be showing you guys 5 things that you guys should be considering buying at Harbor Freight. So the first item up isn't just specifically one, but multiple. And I'm going to be throwing in an extra item at the end of the video. So technically 6 items, not counting these multiple items I'm about to mention. So if you're looking for a decent quality pliers set, but you're not looking at spending a lot of money, I think Doyle has some really good options. But always make sure to do your research. There are brands like Channel Lock out there, and Klein, and Tecton, and Knipex, and a lot of brands out there that either are around the same price as some of these like Icon pliers, and even some of the DeWalt or Doyle pliers, and like the Knipex, when you catch them on sale, you can even get those for around this price range. So there are pros and cons. You just got to do your research before making your purchase, but I do believe Doyle has some really good plier options. I've heard a lot of great things. I've owned a couple of their pliers, and I'm very impressed with their lineup and the quality that comes with the price. Especially if you can use a coupon and save a little bit of money, they definitely have some good options. They're adjustable water pump pliers here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not one. I keep a couple pairs of lineman pliers on hand, but I don't use them often. I don't have experience with the lineman ones. They do have a flat nose. They have their groove joint pliers in a couple different sizes. They have their electrician's multi-purpose pliers. I don't have experience with these, but if you guys do, please make sure to share your thoughts down in the comments. Sometimes pliers like these can be very handy. I have pliers almost identical to this, just not from Doyle, which I really enjoy. Another set of their groove joint pliers, a little bit smaller set here. Some long nose pliers, more of their groove joint pliers. You can see this one's going to have a little bit different jaw design. You got more of a straight jaw up here, and here you got their V-cut. Diagonal side cutters, I've heard they've performed pretty well as also. The wire crimping pliers, this design is really nice, and they've done a good job on this one. I definitely think this is a great option. And they just have a really good lineup of pliers, and I think they're really good quality for the price that they fall in. There's multiple other brands out there. Just make sure to do your shopping around. Lots of good plier brands out there that don't cost a whole lot of money, but still a good option to consider. Next up is the Doyle 10-inch Riv Nut Setter. I actually got this 2 years ago for Christmas during a white elephant gift exchange, and I've used it a handful of times now, and I absolutely love this thing. I used it to install my bed slide, a harness bar, a couple other things. And anytime I'm like working on a car and I'm thinking about using like a self tapper, if it's somewhere that's accessible or somewhere that it could be used, I like to use it, because using a fastener into a riv nut, I feel, is not only a cleaner but more secure than using a self tapper. So like when I ran my trans cooler lines from my transmission to the back where my cooler is, I had originally used the hose clamp to self tapper into the trans tunnel down the back of the car, and I went back through and actually installed riv nuts, and it just looks much cleaner. I can actually, some of the self tappers were just kind of spinning in place, the hole got wallered out, and here I don't have to worry about that. So I don't have to worry about my lines becoming slack and rubbing on each other or anything like that, or taking a chance of it making contact with my drive shaft or anything like that. So having something like this can be very handy for allowing you to put small fasteners, and it comes with a lot as well. Now the only downside is I don't think Harbor Freight offers refills on the riv nuts. You do have all of your different adapters to work with all the different riv nuts that are included, and it's all clearly labeled. It operates very smoothly, and just a great tool. One thing when using these though, make sure you get your riv nut set. Do not be afraid to crimp down on this. You want a strong hold. You don't want that riv nut to end up spinning in the hole, because then if you can't get it snugged up, then you end up having to drill it out, or trying to get this thing out can be a horrible time. So just make sure that you get a good crimp on it and a good bond, a good pinch between the material. So definitely want to consider $50. I think it's still a great buy. You can get it with a coupon as well. Next up is the Pittsburgh. If you're looking at just sticking with Pittsburgh, maybe you're not interested or not needing necessarily something higher quality. Like you don't need to go with the Icon. And while Quinn just released their new 90 tooth ratchets that are fantastic, that you just get yours kind of standard length, non-flex head comfort grip ratchet, where Pittsburgh is a little bit cheaper, maybe not quite as nice. But a lot of these have been out for a long time and held true to being some really good ratchets for the price. Now, do they compare to some of your higher end ones? No, they don't. But for the price, they're hard to beat. So if you're one of those that don't necessarily need a higher end ratchet, but you want one that's still, reliable, I think this is a good option. You can get the long handle flex head 3/8 drive for $35, not on sale. I think that's a good deal. You got good length for good torque. You got a flex head for those awkward situations, a comfort grip handle, 72 tooth mechanism. That's a 5-degree arc swing, so it's still your standard tooth count. It's not a low tooth count. They haven't switched to 90 tooth. I don't know if they will for quite some time, but just the Pittsburgh lineup of ratchets, they have a wide variety of different styles, so definitely a good option if you're not one of those needing a higher end ratchet. Next up is the Quinn 3/8 drive SAE and metric master impact socket set. This is the 48-piece set, and they also have a larger set, which I believe is, I know I've done videos on them. This set is identical to the Capri set, but the Capri set is $100 or more. And then the 1/2-inch drive version of the Quinn is identical, I believe, if I remember correctly, maybe a Sun X one, and it is quite a bit cheaper. So as good of a deal as this one compared to the Capri, but I think for $90 for this set, it's a very good set. 3/8 drive SAE and metric, shallow and deep. You get extensions, adapters, reducers, a universal adapter, and just a good variety throughout, 8 to 19 millimeter, and that's going to go for shallow and deep without skipping a size. Now, it would have been nice to go up to like 21, but not a big deal. A lot of these 3/8 drive sets do stop at 19. 5/16 through 3/4 on both shallow and deep. And then there you can see your 3, 6, and 10-inch extensions, your 4 adapters and reducers, and your universal right there. So definitely a good set. It's laid out very well. Adapters, reducers there, your universal, your extensions, and then all of your shallows around the outside, deeps towards the center and top. So I don't think they're dual stamped though. I could be wrong. I think they're just laser engraved, which may be a downside to some, but that's just something to keep in mind. I think for $90, it's a good deal. Next up is the Pittsburgh Automotive fluid line clamps, and these are just fantastic. There's a few different designs out there. You got your pliers style. You got this locking pliers with a couple of hoses over the teeth so you don't demolish anything. That's what I used to do. I went a long time without like an actual fluid line clamp, and some of these are just, they're super affordable, $8, and they're just really handy to have, especially when you're working with fuel or coolant. And for one, my most hated fluid is coolant. I hate getting coolant on myself. I just hate the smell, the feeling of it. It's just irritating to me. It just eats away at my soul. And just having clamps like this, getting a good pinch off on that line can be really handy. So for $8, I think it's worth it. If you guys for some reason have issues with them, there are higher end ones out there and they don't get super expensive. Here you can see some of their plier style version, which are more, I've had issues with these, so I prefer this style, but it also depends possibly what brand you go with, just because when working with larger hoses, it's just hard to get a good pinch with some of these. So $8, I think it's a good deal. Next up, like I stated earlier, the Quinn ratchets. I think these are a great new addition. I think they're a much needed improvement over the Quinn. This Quinn ratchet was just too similar to the Pittsburgh. Identical handles, head, all of that. The only difference is the handle color option, the stripes on the sockets, which help identify, which nothing wrong with this. If you want it, go for it. It's still priced well. The Pittsburgh one is cheaper, and if you're buying this set, it's probably not something that you're using every single day, so you'll probably be just fine. But you can save $5 to $10, I believe, by buying the Pittsburgh one. I'm really glad Quinn has been stepping it up with, like I showed earlier, their socket sets, but also their ratchets. These aren't available in the socket sets yet. Hopefully we'll see that soon. Hopefully we'll see it replace these. Unlikely. They'll probably just release a different set. I would like to see these included, but obviously with this 3H drive ratchet being $25, I don't know how much of a price increase would happen because of adding sockets to it. But these new 90-tooth designs are great. I don't think the 1/2-inch one is going to sell as much, just because when I use a 1/2-inch ratchet, I'm looking for a 1/2-inch ratchet that's long and I can put some torque on. It's not too often that if I can use this size of ratchet, I'm probably just using my impact or impact driver. The 3/8 and 1/4 inch I think are going to sell very well. I actually just picked up the 3/8 and I'm doing a video on it. It may or may not be released already. Check the channel. Here they have an actual socket set for 180. You get a good selection of sockets, a breaker bar, extension, and a ratchet with a small extension here and a universal. Definitely a good selection. 180, it's not a terrible deal. 83-piece set, it's not terrible, but it's not great. But they do include the new 90-tooth ratchet in the non-comfort grip. But as far as buying the ratchets individually, you can only get them in comfort grip as of right now, and only standard length. They haven't released like a flex head or anything like that. So I think the prices on the Quinn 90-tooth ratchets are priced very well. And Quinn has just been doing a really good job of stepping up their offerings. Like here's one of their older socket sets that are going to include just your more generic ratchets. They've been doing a good job, and hopefully they continue to add items like this to kind of set themselves apart further from Pittsburgh. So then you kind of have a bigger variety in the tiers from Pittsburgh to Quinn to Icon. There's an actual difference there. Before, Quinn was too close to the Pittsburgh stuff, and then you had Icon over here. Now it's kind of equally divided, and the prices are fair as well. So those are the items that I suggest from Harbor Freight. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. And if you guys enjoyed, make sure to smash that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.